Welcome to the Unpopped Review, movie reviews from a movie lover and not a movie critic. Bryan Singer finishes off his X-Men prequel trilogy with X-Men Apocalypse. Let's see how it is. So X-Men Apocalypse has the ancient Egyptian mutant En-Sabah-Nur coming back in the form of a disfigured bald Poe Dameron to try and cleanse the earth of all of the lesser beings. Like always, let's start by talking about the good. Quicksilver, just like in Days of Future Past, he has a fantastic scene that shows off his amazing skill, abilities, and super speed. And just like last time, this scene is pretty epic. This particular scene with him is actually one of the two scenes when I was smiling, actually smiling in the theater. And speaking of the second scene that made me smile, there was another that was completely awesome. Now, even though it was given away in the trailer, I'm not going to say what the scene was, but just know that it was epic. It was so epic that it was probably even the best part of the movie and makes me really excited for things to come. The last thing that I thought was really good was Jean Grey and Scott Summers, aka Cyclops. Fans have waited a long time to see these two characters be done justice. And even though they didn't get a lot of screen time in Apocalypse, I feel that they finally got the characters right. And now let's move on to the Unfortunately, the first hour of the movie was Mystique and Apocalypse just recruiting their members that they're going to have on their team. And even though it was pretty great seeing the introduction of characters like Angel, Psylocke, and Nightcrawler, it just made the movie very chopped up when it was jumping from scene to scene. And speaking of those recruits, let's talk about Apocalypse's Four Horsemen. As shown in the trailers and also in the comics, Apocalypse's horsemen are his followers and protectors. And in this movie, his Four Horsemen are Angel, Psylocke, Storm, and Magneto. And although they are really great when they do something, most of the time they're really just standing around. And finally, let's go to the ugly. Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique. Now, I realize I am very biased here because I am not a huge fan of Jennifer Lawrence. To me, her acting always just seems dead-faced and boring. But let's put my bias aside because there is no reason why Mystique should be leading the X-Men. She is one of the most iconic Marvel villains. And for some reason, Fox feels they have to put Mystique as a major hero. All I can think of is just spending all this money on Jennifer Lawrence just to be in these movies. So rather than make her into a villain, they want to make her into a hero. But the character just doesn't fit that way. And on top of making her a hero, once again, they also managed to keep her out of her blue skin most of the movie. Now, I understand that makeup takes time and money, but when you have a character like Mystique, especially after the last two movies, when a huge point of it was being mutant and proud, suddenly it just feels out of place to have her in her human form so often. And going on my rant of Mystique, look at the makeup. Now let's take a look at what the makeup looked like in the original X-Men, and then in X-Men First Class. And you can totally see the difference. The makeup in X-Men Apocalypse looks like they just painted her blue and stuck felt circles on top of her head. It just looked completely lazy, and it didn't look as good as the previous movies. Whoa. All my ugly points have to do with Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique. I must be a really mean person. But just to make myself clear again, all of my negative points are about Mystique as a character and the direction they're going with her, rather than Jennifer Lawrence herself. So I'm not completely bashing on Jennifer Lawrence. I think. Oh, there actually is one other thing that I thought was ugly. Jubilee. As the fan of the 90s X-Men animated series, I was super excited to see that Jubilee was going to be in the movie. But unless I'm remembering incorrectly, I don't think she had a single line. And I know for a fact we never saw her powers manifest. And I would have thought by all the fan reaction from the Jubilee announcement, the director at least would have given her some lines or something to do in the movie. But instead she did absolutely nothing. So just to summarize, I do think the X-Men Apocalypse is the worst of the prequel trilogy, and it isn't as good as X-Men 1 or X2, but it's still miles ahead of X-Men 3 The Last Stand and X-Men Origins Wolverine. So I definitely consider that a win. So even though it is boring at times, there are enough enjoyable moments to keep you entertained. So I'll say X-Men Apocalypse is not a must-see, but if you do decide to see it, definitely see it in theaters. So that's what I thought of X-Men Apocalypse. What did you think? Do you think I was too hard on Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique? And what are some of your favorite X-Men? They can be from the movies, TV show, or comics. Leave your comments below, and remember to always keep it unpopped.